Hey, this is Jay. Could you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right there on your iDevice? And if you really like the show, could you do me one other favor and do a search for the Big Buck Registry on your iDevice and leave us a 5-star review if you love the show. Tune in to North American Whitetail TV on the Sportsman's Channel this Wednesday at 8 p.m. for a special commemorative TV show on the Mel Johnson buck. Thanks for your support and enjoy the show. Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast, episode number 118. A 50-year record, the Mel Johnson buck, with special guest Mel Johnson. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
This is Gordon Whittington, Editor-in-Chief at North American Whitetail Magazine, and you're about to listen to another great episode of the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast.
Hi, this is Larry Weissoon from Trailing the Hunter's Moon, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Grant Woods from Growing Deer TV. You're listening to one of my favorite deer hunting podcasts on the internet, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast. This is Jay Scott, and I am joined by my good friend, the Buckeye, Dusty Phillips. What's happening, Dusty?
O-H-I-O. It's college football season, Jay. But man, not a whole lot happening. Just getting some hay off the fields, and man, weather's setting in. Man, it's going to be hunting time real soon.
It's that time, man. It just smells like hunting. There's a smell to it. I'll be honest. There's a smell to hunting. And it just, as smells go, are largest memory triggers that there is.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of them things where, you start putting things that you like to do on the maybe list, and you go hunting.
Yep. There are some big bucks being sent in right now, I have to say. Archery kills from all over the country. Some in velvet, some out of them already, with recurves and compounds, and it's all over the map. So it's on, brother. It is on.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
Yes. Hey, what do you say we travel back to 1965, October 29th in particular?
I say let's do it.
You know what happened on that day, Dusty?
Mel Johnson killed the world record buck.
Yes. Friday, October 29th, 1965, Melvin Johnson was hunting a soybean field 20 minutes from downtown Peoria, Illinois, and shot what turned out to be the world record Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett with a bow. And to boot, he shot it with a recurve that still stands almost 50 years later. We haven't quite reached that point yet.
50 years, Jay. Could you imagine?
50-year record. No, I can't. Things were so different 50 years ago in the deer hunting world. It's fascinating. So what we decided to do to celebrate this record, and we're going to put this out before the 50-year anniversary actually gets here. But we actually have the Melvin J. Johnson joining us right here on the Big Buck Podcast to reminisce about that hunt and tell us every single little thing he knows about deer hunting. And I have to be honest, when we recorded this, you and I don't think we spoke 5 words.
Yeah, it's not that we didn't want to speak. It was that, Mel took the floor and we let Mel, say what he wanted to say and talk about things that he learned over the years.
Yes.
I mean, this is a veteran hunter, Jay. He needs to be respected, and he's full of knowledge about chasing whitetails.
Yes.
That's the cool part. That's what makes it so unique.
Yes. Mel is 81 years old, and he was 31 when he shot the deer. He shot it with a 72-pound Howitt recurve that the buck ended up weighing about 340 pounds on the hoof and scored 204 4/8 in the Pope and Young typical category. Just
a big buck.
an amazing deer. But I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to give you any more about that. I'm just going to let Mel tell you how it went down, and listen closely to all the little tips he gives you along the way, because he doesn't think he's giving you a tip. But I was sitting there like a child would listen to a grandfather, and just the things that he's forgotten about is more than I will probably know I won't know it until I'm 81 years old.
Yeah, it'll suck you in and make you want to listen to the show thoroughly and
Yes.
definitely pay attention. There's a whole lot in this show that you don't want to miss.
Yes, this is one of those shows. So without further ado, here's Mel Johnson.
Yeah, things are going pretty good. I haven't been out too much messing around, but I don't get too excited too much till later on in September October or 1st of October. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. Keeping up with grandkids and all,
Sure.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for taking time out of your evening to join us.
Well, yeah, I can do that. Ain't no problem with that. Where do you live at, Dusty? In Ohio? Somewhere in Ohio?
Yep, I'm just a little bit southwest of Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton. Okay.
So Mel, where were you born?
Born right here in Peoria, Illinois.
Gotcha.
And in March 1934.
March 1934. And what was life like back in the 30s and 40s growing up?
Well, there weren't no deer.
Really?
No, we've had no deer for years.
Interesting.
And I think the first deer season was in like 59.
Wow.
And of course, I was after everything else. I was just a young gopher,
Sure.
We done a lot of rabbits and squirrels and fishing and all that crap, But for the most part, I didn't do a whole lot of it until I went into the Army. I had to go into the Army in June of 1960.
Okay.
And some of the fellows that I was in the Army with were from Wisconsin and Minnesota. And we got to chasing the daggone deer around Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and there was an ample supply of them down there. And so I was a permanent party there in the military, and we got to have and spend a lot of time chasing deer down there and learning a lot about them.
Interesting. So you learned how to deer hunt in Missouri for the most part.
Well, that's where I started. I don't know how much I learned, but how you fumble around.
Sure.
I think everybody fumbles, at least I know most people I do, fumbled a lot, We make a lot of mistakes. We could write a book on mistakes, I think. But
that's true.
Everybody makes them, and it's a way, it's part of the growing up.
Right.
But, we done all right. Of course, we shot everything down there. It was brown, it was down, and it was we were all, recurve shooters and that,
Okay.
And everybody says, was that a recurve or a compound? It wasn't even out with compounds yet. I hadn't started pushing them yet.
Right.
So we were with strictly recurves, and it's a little more demanding, it seems like, but so that's where we spent most of our time. Every moment we had free time from the military, we'd be out chasing the animals, But so that's the way we were. I was there for a couple of years, and then when I got out, one of the guys, he asked me to meet him in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, for the opening of the deer season. So of course I was up there for that.
Yeah.
Then I was hung on that for years and years. We went there a lot, and it really wasn't that great. But how you do, you get stuck in a spot and you don't want to move.
Sure.
And it took us a while to get the ambition to go and try some other spots. And so we did. We moved to different areas and found out there was a lot more deer in other spots, But anyhow, so that's the way we got our start, and
yeah.
We spent a lot of time up there, and of course I had 2 or 3 buddies here that were actually really great bow hunters, and the one guy I was a friend with, he was the most fantastic shot I ever seen, he could hit anything, anywhere. And so him and I got to hunting quite a bit together, and of course now he's gone, he's passed. All my good old buddies are going,
Yeah.
I'm at the right age group now where I've lost a lot of my compadres, I guess you'd call them.
Gotcha.
And anyhow, it makes it a little tougher, but so you got to keep branching out and getting into them different groups. of people.
Right.
I know here the last few years I got to hunting with some guys along the Mississippi River in Savannah, Illinois, and it was loaded with deer up there. And the guys let me come up there and hunt on this club. And it was a kind of a pricey club for me because I was just no blue-collar worker.
Right.
But I couldn't afford to sell my little bunkhouse, which I've got a little hunting place, and by the time I would sell that, well, it would cost me more than what it would cost to get in that club where they've done everything for you,
Oh, sure. Right. Gotcha.
I've heard guys complain about it, and I said, wow, if I didn't have to pay taxes and insurance and utilities and cut grass every week and all that stuff, that'd be a good deal. But every time I mentioned selling it, my wife would say, oh, no. We got to save that for the grandkids,
Right, of course.
So that's where we're at on that, and it's kind of a standoff. And yeah, man, now the kids are old enough. I got my youngest, my grandson, he's 10 years old. I got him his first turkey there in the spring. And that was kind of had more fun doing that than anything else.
Yeah.
Calling a bird in and getting him to shoot one and with a gun, not with a bow.
Yeah.
But, so I'm trying to get him a permit for shotgun for deer, let him kill his first deer, because we've got some does and things around, plenty of them, and it's not that difficult, I don't think, but, we'll see how it is for that little booger, how he manages it,
Right.
I can still remember the first ones I took a shot at, and it was pretty demanding. It was pretty, you learn as you go, know. It's like, why did I do that? Why didn't I do that?
Right.
But, so you guys got pretty good hunting out there, haven't you?
Yes. Well, Dusty has great hunting. My hunting is a little different. It's not quite as rich in crops, and the deer are big if you find one, but they're not particularly large antlered deer. And Dusty's in a much different area.
Most of them aren't large antlered here either. Everybody comes to Illinois thinking there's a pooping young deer behind every tree.
Sure.
And that simply isn't true. I know guys that's hunted here hard all their lives, and they haven't killed very many of them, and they don't come that easy. But same thing as real estate, location. Some guys sit on hunting this great place, like no matter what they do, they got deer walking around them. And other places you can sit all week and don't see that many, But anyhow, that's just deer hunting. That's where we had a lot of them die off a year ago. We got that blue tongue and that,
Okay. Yep.
And I got a buddy he's got a place that has so many deer, it's unbelievable. And he's been protecting it for years. And I kept telling him, I say, well, so one of these days something's going to happen. And I mean, you could go out there and I've seen as high as 60 deer a night.
Wow.
And all kinds, a lot of antlerless and that, and you crack the horns together and you get a bunch of immature deer come running in and, and so all of a sudden they did lose a lot of them. And he said, wow. He said, what am I going to do now? I said, well, you remember a few years back when there weren't many deer and you had to sit all week to see one or two, I said, It's just right back where you started from. It'll work out.
Nature kind of took its course, huh? Yeah, nature was just kind of doing its thing.
Yeah, there's places where there's pretty stiff with deer, there's a lot of them around. But they're still hard to, and then we got a lot of bow hunters too. My lands, it's hard to get in places where we used to just go and they'd say, go ahead, you're harmless,
Yeah.
But it's not that way anymore. Everybody's got family, friends, relation, or somebody that is taking up the spots or space, and you got to have choice of spots, And of course, I haven't, like I say, I've lost some of my partners, and one I could still go out to his place, and he's got a caretaker. I could still hunt that, but he died, so it's not the same,
Right. No, I totally understand.
Without having my old buddy there, but
right.
But that's just the way it works, You just have to keep moving on. Yeah. But anyhow, we see some deer, and some are good, and some are bad, and I don't know. I just like to hunt them. If I couldn't hunt them, I don't know what in the world I'll do. And I'm at the point now where I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I know I'm not going to be able to go after them like I once did. You know what I mean? I was out in the woods climbing trees every day and moving around, you know, but them days are pretty much behind me. I don't have to do all that.
Right.
But still, I kind of miss it, you know.
Sure. Absolutely.
I know my one close buddy, he died this year, and him and I had a lot of stuff, or not a lot of stuff, some places that we hunt together, and I've lost him too, so it makes it rough. But so take care of your stuff as long as you can, because it don't last forever.
All right, I'll take those words to forever. Actually, I'll definitely take you up on that.
Yeah, you don't realize, you know, how good it is to have some buddies, you know, that you can hunt with. And I never did like to go with a group. I've seen guys go with big bunches of guys, you know, and that. We never did do that, but I still had like the same guys, and you had a cabin or somewhere and hunt, you know, and it was enjoyable, you know. But then, well, times change, you know. There's a lot more deer being harvested, and you know, we had them here in the yard. I had apple trees in the back. And
sure. Yeah.
The deer were coming right into the yard here, but we don't bother them. I wouldn't bother them here in the yard. Yeah. But my wife, she likes to look at them and that. But I still like to go and get away from it all.
I bet. I mean, it's peaceful.
You know, and it's part of the thing of going and doing it, you know, and like I go up to these guys up at the Rock House, and what we call a Rock House Hunt Club, and everything changes. A ball player has bought the place, and it's a big pro ball player, and he's a nice enough guy, but he don't really want it, you know, and he just buys stuff to be buying it, you know.
Sure.
And they make so much money. You can't imagine how much money these people. He's a professional basketball player, and he makes millions of dollars. And buying property and stuff is nothing to him.
Right.
I mean, he had the one spot which we thought was pretty good. My buddy had this one, and I liked to hunt quite a bit, and it was about 400 acres. And of course, Mike he logged it out and everything, built a great big machine shed on it with living quarters in it and everything. And along comes this Chris came and he says, "I got to have that." Well, so Mike says, "Well, yes, you can. You got the right amount of money." Well, he always had the money, you know, and he says, "Well, you couldn't afford not to sell it to him, you know."
Right.
They just make money and buy it and sell it and everything else. So
sure,
nothing stays the same. Boy, it keeps rattling around up there, and I enjoy going up there turkey hunting and that, and just being around the guys. But and that's about 3 hours to the north of me where I go.
All right.
And I don't have to. My bunkhouse it's 50 minutes, or I don't have. But there ain't nobody there. I go up there and hunt by myself half the time, or most of the time.
Gotcha.
So I'd rather go to this and see these guys and see what they're doing and blah, 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 you know.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand.
It's a lot more fun.
Hey, Mel, at your age, Mel, do you feel more comfortable hunting with the knowing that there's another hunter or a group of hunters in the area with you?
No, I don't hunt public land that much. I don't want to be bumped around by them, you know, or have them building stands right across the fence from me or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had that problem with guys try to find out where I'm hunting, and boy, if I knew where to go all the time, I wouldn't be able to get a big enough freezer to put my meat in, you know. But some guys think, well, just because you went there, it's good.
Right.
That's not necessarily true.
Right.
You're still going to have a whole bunch of luck involved with it, you know, and putting it all together and then decide what you're going to shoot and what you're not going to shoot.
Right.
So I don't know. The old boy I used to hunt with up north that just died on me, he hardly ever shot at anything. But he was born and raised there and killed a pile of deer when he was young. And he just didn't shoot them. He just let them walk by. And he liked to look at them and mess with them. He would stand every day but he wouldn't shoot. Hardly ever shot at one. And so I kept him busy dragging deer out. Because I still like to eat them, and my son-in-law and then my son-in-law don't hunt, so I usually shoot deer for them, and he likes to cook it and eat it, you know, so.
Sure.
It works out just fine, you know.
Yeah.
But, If
Hey,
that's
Mel,
what I could do.
as you get older, is it more comfortable to hunt with a group of guys?
No, I never did like to hunt with a group of guys. No.
Hmm.
I mean, like up there, when I go to the rock house, everybody has their own property or something to go on, or like on this club property, I don't hunt on it. I don't pay to hunt that because there's guys that pay to hunt that. And my buddy, he's a dentist and he owns stuff and he lets me hunt on his property.
Gotcha.
Which is fine, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it, and he his brother helps me, and they help me out, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the crap I do if they didn't help me. You know, heck, I'm 81 years old, you know, I know, like I say, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, it just gets to the point where, you know, you can't do it, you know, it's so demanding and you can't seem to get it together, you know, but, so that's the way it is, you know, and I hate to think of, having to quit one of these days, but I don't know, maybe I'll have to this year. I don't know.
Doesn't sound like you want to, though.
No. Last year I had one of my hillbilly buddies was with me, and he kills a lot of deer. But I had nobody to hunt with me, and so he come up to my bunkhouse and was going to hunt with me. So I put him on a stand, and then I got in the stand, and I had this, well, not a giant, but a reasonable buck, you know. Mm-hmm. Come by. He had his size and everything, and he was a big, heavy animal. And I shot him, and Merle, he's just a hillbilly, come from Benton, Kentucky, and he said, "Did you see that buck?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I did." I said, "I shot him. He's laying right over here in the prairie grass." He's, well, be damned. So we went and got him, and I was sicker than the dog then. And we got him back to my garage and my bunkhouse and got him skinned and part of him in the freezer and part in the fridge. And I called my wife. She called my cardiologist, and he said, "Get in the hospital." So I went straight from there to the hospital and was there for a week.
Oh, wow.
After I shot there, so I called my brother, my son-in-law, and told him to go out and get the deer, you know, because it was a nice deer, big deer. And so he went out and got it. And like I say, they use it and they take care of it, you know. So,
sure, yeah.
But I just can't drag your daggone things out and that. They're ain't trying anymore. They ain't even going to do it.
Gotcha. You know, back when you were starting to hunt, or when you first started hunting with a recurve, how long did it take you to feel comfortable enough where you felt you had the accuracy to go into the woods to kill a deer?
Oh my gosh, that didn't take no time at all, because I was down at Fort Leonard Wood and we seen deer constantly, and we have drives for them and this and that, and I didn't even have a bow. I went to what they call special services.
Yep.
For the military, and they used to get a bow. I forget what it cost, little or nothing for a month. You would you'd rent the bow, and you got some arrows, and so you had, you know, the equipment. But it was one of them old Ben Pearson bow you could shoot right or left-handed, you know.
Sure, yeah, right.
Of course, this is in 60 now. They're a lot different then. But we hunted deer all the time down there. Between me and my buddies down there, I mean, we killed some deer, you know, but you know, of course, all of us none of us had a pot to pee in, or, you know, we were all in the military and didn't have no money or didn't have nothing, you know, so it was kind of tough, you know, but we always managed to get a deer and get them cut up to where we could cook them.
Gotcha. So,
and, no, none of it went to waste, I'll tell you that, but
that's good.
Yeah, it didn't take no time to get to where I could. How good do you have to be? You know.
Yeah, proficiency.
You know, the most important thing is to try to learn to read deer language, and you don't get that by just shooting every goddamn deer. You know, you got to see how they move and what they're doing and this and that. And what gets me sometimes, you get a lot of these younger people. They'll say, "Well, I'm not going to shoot a doe, and not just." I'm not shooting as I get a big buck. Well, that's not a very smart thing to do, because you can learn a whole lot from them old does when they're walking, you know.
Right.
But, and there's nothing wrong with shooting a big old doe. And, so that's what we did. We just learned by hunting them and shooting them and, you know, growing up, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
You hear these guys, some of these guys, they got terrific places to hunt, and I'd love to see some of them, you know, but I've never been that fortunate, you know. But anyhow, that's the way it is, you know.
Tell me more about reading deer. What is it that you look for? What are you learning from that deer? when you say you're studying movement and language?
Oh, it's just seeing how they're walking around, what their reaction is to noises or different things, you know. And I mean, you can shoot a perfect arrow and miss a deer.
Right.
Because it don't always stay exactly where you put him. Most times they're moving or there's something's happening. So you got to just know when and where to take the shot and what they're doing. So if they get preoccupied doing one thing, you got a chance to shoot at them, you know, without bumping them, you know. I've scared them just drawing the bow back, you know, which makes virtually no noise, you know. But then I've learned to draw my bow without making much movement or making any noise, and able to get a shot at them without bumping them. And because if you bump them, they're usually gone. You know,
right.
You don't have that many opportunities. But I like to watch them, and it takes a while for you get to shoot them. That's what I go up there to this rock house. I didn't shoot many of their deer up there because some of those guys want to shoot a big deer. So I would just tell the guy that owned the place and that what I seen and where they're at. And I seen a lot of deer that were big shooters, you know, but they were 40 and 50 yards away. And I simply just can't shoot 40 and 50 yards away. I know that. You know, there's guys that can and they're perfect at it, you know, but I'm not one of them.
Okay.
So if they're in there within my little picture and they're within 20 yards or so, that's when they're vulnerable for me. And so I just let them walk by, you know. And so you learn a lot by watching them and letting them go sometimes, you know. But I don't know what the answer it is, you know. Everybody's looking for a shortcut.
True. That's kind of true, yeah. Yeah, everybody is kind of looking for
they pick up the book and they read the book and they say,
right.
Wow. Yeah, I've had guys come up to me and they start telling me about bucks on a rubbing tree and on a scrape and doing this and doing that. I said, well, you've used all the terminology. I said, you must have got it all out of the book. You know, and they do, you know.
Right, you do.
But, you know, it just don't happen that way most of the time.
Yeah.
But, the only thing I know is it's almost deer season again, so we get to go out and start all over again.
So
that's a good thing about it, you know.
Yeah. It comes back every year.
Over,
right.
Yeah, once it's over, you just get rewind and start again, you know, and if you got the time and energy to do it, you know, but that's what I look for and live for, and I just love that if I could get my grandson cracking a little bit, but he's too young, and I know that, but by the time I get him to where he's doing something, I'll probably be unable to go, you know. But,
gotcha.
But anyhow.
So, Mel, when was the last time?
Take a shot at it.
When was the last time you shot a deer?
Huh? Last year?
Last year?
Yeah, I shot a nice buck last year.
Nice. That's excellent. Yeah,
that's when I had to go to the hospital as soon as I shot him.
So that was last year's buck. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was a nice deer. He had big seeds on him, like he was a breeder, you know. He was a big deer, but he just didn't have the width and the depth that some of the old bucks get, you know.
Sure. But
they're there, you know. It's awful big country, you know. Sometimes they'll come by, sometimes they won't, you know. I had one young man we let hunt in there, and his granddad just died, and he goes. Come down, and I don't go up there during gun season. I don't go there. And what did he do? He wanted to have one day off work. He's a chef at Macomb College in Macomb, and he come down and he shot he shot a buck in the morning. Yeah, in the same stand. He always likes to get one of my better stands. You can't hardly get him out of it. He's always in it. And he shot that, and then later on, he told his grandpa, he says, I think I'm going to go back down and try to get in the stand, try to get a good doe for tonight. So he went down the stand, and he said, damn, it wasn't the biggest buck he's seen all year. Walked right underneath the tree. He didn't have another buck permit, you know.
Oh.
But, you know, and some guys might have shot at him. I don't know. But he's always been pretty straight, you know, with us. And then, well, when he first started hunting there, he got down out of the stand a couple of times and started pursuing the deer, you know, and I don't have a very big place. And I told him, I said, don't be bumping these deer around. I said, if they didn't get by you, let them go. I says, the next time they'll be by you. I said, but I says, every time you bump them, that's one less chance we're going to get them. But, well, he's killed a whole dang bunch of deer out of that one tree, I'll tell you. But he gun hunts it too, you know.
Okay, gotcha.
And he has fun, but I don't know if he'll come this year or not, because his granddad's dead now, so he may not even come down. But, oh, well, that's his choice, you know.
Gotcha. So, Mel,
because,
go ahead.
What?
I was going to say, looking back to 1965, do you feel that you know more today about deer hunting than you did back in October 1965?
No more. Well, I don't know if I know any more.
Okay.
I just might help me remember things that, it's just like if sometimes you can go to a seminar and you'll be listening to somebody and he'll be reading the old bull, he'll laying it on you, and then he'll say something and you'll say, oh, damn, I knew that. But I didn't think about it. I haven't thought about it for a long time, It's just stuff you can't compile and keep up there all the time,
Right. No, that makes sense. I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been to seminars like, I do that, but I didn't know that I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're there and you get the opportunity and it's great. I wish I could say that I knew more, but I don't think I know any more.
Gotcha.
I haven't. We used to get down and walk the Galdang Woods every day and find the hot spots and change stands and put up stands and with the program all the time, And now I can't do that. I got stands up that are permanent and I go and get them and they're all good stands. I mean, most of the stands by my bunkhouse I've shot deer out of.
Okay.
I don't know, it's just the way it is,
Yeah.
But then I've shot them a lot of times too, I didn't just get in them for a little bit and walk away, but it's something,
Yeah.
But they do walk when you don't expect them to. They walk right through the Galdang yard or something,
Yeah.
But at least they do up there. But,
Mel, would you do us one quick thing and kind of take us back to that hunt in 1965 where you took the world record buck and just tell us how it all played out?
Okay. Well, like I say, most of the time I went by myself, and I went and I had seen the buck, seen him twice before, and he'd come up in this bean field. It was already picked, and I didn't even get in a tree stand, or we didn't have tree stands. I just sort of got down on my knees in the weeds along the edge of the field. And that particular night, he had. A couple of times he'd come out and he'd cross the field and I don't know, bucks have an old way of walking. They go to the gate. They try to swing back and forth. But anyhow, he'd come to my side and there's a little point and he'd get the other side of the point and he'd drop down in the woods and I couldn't see him. Well, this particular night, he come and he was out of sight and I thought, no, the booger, he went down in the woods again. And all of a sudden I blinked and there he was and he was only about maybe 10 rows of beans in front of me, walking parallel with me right along the field, And here I am. I've got my bow propped up with a fork stick like we used to stick them up. And he come walking along and he got directly in front of me. And, when there are 10, 12 rows of beans, that's not very far.
Right.
And he turned his head. Of course, I had a face mask and everything on, but he kind of turned his head and looked directly at me, and I didn't move at all. And then he just kind of turned his head straight ahead and took about 3 more steps. And on about the 3rd step, I planted one through behind the right front leg and went right into the lungs. And he took out running straight away across the field.
Yeah.
And there was a little rise in the field, and I lost sight of him. And so I kind of raised up and looked, and hell, I bet he didn't go 40 yards, 45 yards, and was flopping around out in the field. And I got up and walked out towards him, and my arrow was laying there. I passed through his body and picked it up. And then I went to the farmer and got him to come out there, and we drove right out and picked him up. But he was a big deer. I mean, he dressed out. We took him to a regular scale, and he dressed 270. I put him about 340 on the hoof.
Wow. And
when you used to have a table, you could subtract 1.5 pounds from the dress weight and multiply by 1.27, and it gives you what the animal was in the hoof,
Gotcha.
So I put him 340 on the hoof, and so he was a pretty good pile of meat, to be dragging around.
Yeah, that's a monster.
I didn't know if Gerald was going to hunt or not, so we drug him out of the field and got him out of the field, and so that my buddy could come back and hunt if he wanted to, but I don't know if he ever did,
Gotcha. Well, was that on the ground or from a stand?
No, it's on the ground.
On the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And had you scouted that area for a long time before you actually hunted it?
Yeah, that was on the 29th, and I've been hunting it since the season opened.
Okay.
The first, I'd seen the deer 3 times, so, I've seen other deer, but
Yep.
they didn't walk exactly in front of me and this and that, they were in the beans pretty good. And, so I don't know. There's a lot of luck involved.
Right place, right time, in other words.
Yeah, and then being able to hold your composure when it comes down. You try to do the same thing and the right thing, and it all comes together real quick when it does come, and if you're lucky enough, you do all right, But it's been a heck of a ride. Like I say, it'll be 29th of this month, it'll be 50 years.
It's 50 years. Now, Mel, why do you think that after all today's technology, the game cameras, the bow advancements and all that stuff, why do you think that record still holds today?
Well, they've had a lot of people try to push them through that are, every time they loose measure one or something. I've measured for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I quit measuring now. I don't measure no more, but, they want to get that top score, and we've had several, deer that they said was a new world record, and they got to be sent in, they got to be paneled, and they got to be everything before they're accepted, And I've had one sports writer, he called me, and he's a pretty cocky young man, and he said, well, how does it feel now that your record's been broken? And I said, I don't know exactly what kind of an answer you're looking for. I said, because until it's been panel measured and everything, it doesn't mean anything anyhow.
Right.
Whether it's is or whether it isn't, But if you're lucky enough to get one in that class, and that's a big deer, and I always said they'd probably kill one that was a new record, and they've tried and they've come close, but so far and now these last few years, I kept thinking, I hope they hold on till it gets 50 years. Anyhow.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter then, Mm-hmm. And one guy says, well, what happens if you get beaten? I said, well, I guess if I get beat, I'll be number 2. What are you going to say?
That's a great answer. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So what are you going to do,
Right.
I ain't going to cry in my beer or whatever.
Right.
That's just the way it is,
yeah.
They're whacking big ones all the time, and, but there's a lot of these, so-called pros,
Yeah.
That making all the videos and things like that. My lands, I've known plain old bow hunters, that could run rings around these guys, in their lifetime, but they just didn't hit the right circuit,
Yeah. No, I like to hear that. That's good to know.
Yeah. It seems like now they got to have a guy and a gal to make hits, but.
Right.
Like my hillbilly buddy, golly, he's killed so many big deer. It's unbelievable what he killed with a bow. And you look at some of the equipment he's got. I felt so sorry for him. I built him arrows and took him good arrows. Because he was shooting junk, And I said, oh, Merle, don't shoot that junk like that. But it's all he ever had to shoot, But I don't know what he'd do if he had good equipment, because he's a heck of a hunter. Like I say, he comes from Kentucky and all that. And he can do most anything, and he's a good woodsman and all that, but he just hunts, And he used to take pictures of them and come over here with big things of pictures of them.
Yep.
Before the cameras, and he'd take handheld cameras, take pictures, But see, now my nephew, he got a place in southern west of here, and he's got these new cameras, and he'll get 6,000 or 7,000 pictures a time every time he goes down.
Right, right.
And he counts on. He had 60-some different bucks on these pictures, and I said, oh man, you're taking a little something out of the hunting, There's a time and a place for stuff, but he was saying all these big deer, and so I don't know. But I had 2 cameras and I took them down. I don't need them. They don't walk by in the daytime. Can't shoot them anyhow.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, and most of them come around at night,
Right.
And you see the nighttime pictures. Don't mean too much.
Right.
But it's nice to know they're on the property. But and most of the time they just pass through. But whatever.
Do you think the genetics are still there from the gene pool of the deer that you shot?
No, I wouldn't say no. It's been 50 years.
Yeah.
Look how things can possibly change. And people have bought property all over that area. And I never did come out and advertise where I shot him,
Yeah.
And people say they bought property because somebody said, that's where I killed the deer. And they'd buy a piece of property just because they thought that the world record deer come off that property, which don't mean squat,
Yeah.
They still got to walk by when you're there. And I've measured deer for guys, great big old deer. And a lot of times when I'd say, have you seen this deer many times? They said, no, we never seen him before in our life. He just showed up one day, So, that's just the way it is, But and some guys do take the pictures continuously every day. But where they spend the summer is usually not where they spend the fall. My buddy, he used to have 2 or 3 big bucks on his place all the time. And I'd say, daggone it, that's too bad because I don't think they'll be here during rut. And they'd move out,
Right.
They'd move out. And he have an army of does, but then no bucks, But, yeah, but anyhow.
Interesting.
Some guys got it and some guys haven't.
Right. So, Mel, of all the things you've learned over the years, what's your number one hunting tip? If you had to just give somebody that's been hunting for a while or just anybody, what would you say to them?
Well, to don't give up.
Gotcha.
I won't let them quit. Like my grandson, I took him turkey hunting. I make him sit in the all dang turkey tent till quitting time.
Yeah.
And you make a kid sit in the tent for 6-7 hours, and it makes it pretty hard on him, And this last year, he kept saying, let's go on home. And no, Brody, you're going to sit till quitting time. And it couldn't have been 15 minutes. Here come 2 big toms around the corner, and he killed one of them. And he said, man, am I glad I didn't quit. I said, well, see there?
There you go.
Don't quit until quitting time, A lot of guys that go out and they don't really give it their all. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. They just can't seem to spend the time that they should be spending at them out there. You wait all year to hunt, and if you don't get your butt out there and hunt when the time's right, that's your fault. I know I've been up to that rock house and up there in bad weather, and I'd go out hunting, and the guys would say, "Damn, you're the only one who went hunting this morning." And nobody else went out. I said, "Well, I hunt every day like it might be my last, so I'm going to hunt every dang minute I can." It may be dumb, but I just believe that.
I don't think that's dumb, Mel. I think that's admirable. I love that.
Yeah, well, you just never know, and I've seen a lot of animals killed in the last few minutes of the hunt.
Absolutely.
But you can't kill them if you're not out there, But, it's just the way the system works, I guess. But anyhow, well, Jay?
Mel, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
I burned up a lot of your time here.
Believe me, I'm sitting here like a student. I'm just listening, and it's fantastic. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot just listening to you talk, and I'm glad we connected.
I got a buddy out there in New Jersey, and he got a son in Florida that's a guide, and he goes back to Jersey, and they kill all kinds of deer in Jersey,
Sure.
They're thick out there, and he complains about that. And I told him, I said, "We hang that stuff up." I said, "Come on back here in Illinois. Let me put you in a stand."
Right.
To see what deer hunting's all about,
Right. Yep. Totally different.
And, it don't always work, but sometimes it does.
Yeah. So do you plan to get out this coming year? Do you think you'll be able to get out?
Oh, I know I'm going to get out.
All right.
And how good I'm going to do, well, that's something else,
Right.
I'm going to get out there. I already know that, but, and I've got a pretty good understanding wife, I'll tell you that. That's about half the battle,
That's probably your best tip of all time right there, right?
Yeah, but she'll know where I'm at.
Yep.
She knows the guys I go with, and she calls and everything. And I may have, I forget, for one sports show, there must have been a half a dozen guys come in here from up north, and they had them shacked up all over the place, sleeping on couches and everything else just to go to the sports show,
Yeah.
And she welcomes everybody that comes through the door, and it makes a big difference, And,
that's huge. Yep.
yeah. Okay, my friend. Well, good luck out there.
Well, thank you, Mel. This has been
Dusty, I haven't heard Dusty say a whole lot.
He's taking notes.
I am taking notes, Mel. It's an honor to talk with somebody that's, spent many, many years in the woods, and, you're full of very useful knowledge, and Jay and myself much appreciate you taking time to join us.
I used to tell people, how many trees we climbed in 50 years.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Go out and climb several trees a night or weekend or whatever. And you think, good grief, it's kind of dumb some of the stuff we pull, but that's the way it is, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, good luck hunting, you guys.
Thank you, Mel.
Kill great big ones. If you're going to kill a big one, do it after the 29th.
After the 29th. All right. Very good.
Because I can still get my 50 years in.
There you go.
Well, I think you're going to make it, Mel. I don't think anybody's going to break your record for.
Oh, don't bet on that. I know you say no. It's like the 4-minute mile, ain't it?
Yeah, that's true.
People say, "Oh, that can't be done." Well, all of a sudden, bang, bang,
Right.
they do it. You know, I mean, it's doable.
Well, I'll shoot does until the 29th, and then it's game on.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong with that. We're good eaters. You know.
Yep.
How many does can you guys shoot?
I can get 2 a year, but I have to go to a certain part of New Hampshire to do that if I want to shoot more than one.
Well, you can kill all the does you want here if you keep buying tags.
No kidding.
Which I don't need to do that, but
Right.
I don't want to shoot all the deer, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It's they got to have something for them big boys to walk around smell at.
Yeah, here in Ohio, we can shoot one doe, one buck in our county, and then you can move to a adjoining county and shoot another doe. Then you got to travel a little bit of distance down to southern Ohio if you want to get into more deer tags, more opportunity. But one deer, one buck, that fills my freezer up pretty good.
That's a lot of meat, you know what?
Yeah, oh yeah.
These guys that buy it all, and of course I give mine away to my kids, you know. But
right.
the wife, she don't cook it that much, but we used to like to have the hamburger always here. And since Billy and my daughter and son-in-law, and all the grandkids, they like it, and they get after it, you know. Which is good.
Mel, I'd like to tell your grandson to take in everything that he can from you. You know, it's
if he'd only listen, huh?
Yeah, you know, that's the tough part because, you know, listening to you talk, you sound just like my grandfather that showed me the way. And man, if I could only have another half hour with him today, you know.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing. A young man don't realize what he's got until it's gone.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, boys.
All right, Mel. We'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. And
okay.
I may reach out to you now and then just to say hey, if that's cool.
Yeah, okay. Send me a card if you get a chance.
All right, I will do that.
Send me a picture. Yeah.
Pictures. Got it.
Yeah. See you later, buddy.
Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks,
Take care. Bye-bye. I'm speechless, Dusty. I was pretty much speechless through the whole recording and the interview, and I'm still speechless.
I couldn't agree more, Jay. You know, it touched me. That stories like that touch me. You know, older gentlemen like that's got so much knowledge of what they've seen and what they've done in the whitetail woods. You know, it really is amazing that he still has the drive. And that's something I always wondered, you know. That was always a question that I wanted to ask my grandfather before he passed away and never did, you know. I was a young man and didn't really know. But Mel just answered that, you know, the same drive to go to the woods is still there at 80 years old. As it may not be as strong as it was when he was 20, but it sounds like that bug is still crawling around and it gets all jittery when it gets time. I mean, he's excited about going whitetail hunting, Jay.
Absolutely.
That's cool. That's awesome.
He's still going even when it's bad weather. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's all about getting out there is what he basically brought it down to. Yeah. And, you know, he was shooting a Zwicky broadhead, whatever that brand was. I mean, it doesn't even exist anymore. You know, he's seen and trends of not only deer populations, but trends in hunting and gear and all that stuff have come and gone. And he's now, you know, seeing the latest bow technology and the compound bows and cameras, and he just doesn't buy into that. He's like, it's just about hunting. Get out there and hunt, period, is basically what his message is. Just go hunt. Learn from your hunting. Right. Don't worry about the rest.
No, and it's the truth though.
It's so
true. The truth just came straight from a man's mouth into my ears, and it makes you stop and think. I mean, really, every buck that you see harvested or killed, you've already seen it before on social media.
Yeah.
You know, I seen that buck on your pictures, dude. I already knew it was there. You know, it's just like it's ruined it for the hunters.
Right. The element of surprise is gone in a lot of ways.
And listen to Mel, you know, and it makes you think that, you know, he's right. Just think of okay, I'm going to throw this out there. You shoot a buck, Jay. All your friends usually, like 10 years ago, my friends would like show up at at the house, and we would like talk about how the hunt went down and what they've been seeing and how they killed the buck, and vice versa. If your buddy killed one, you drive over there and check it out. They'd call your house phone and be like, "Hey man, I shot a big buck tonight." You would drive over there. But now it's like, I see it on Facebook.
See it on Facebook. I saw it on my game camera.
Yeah.
I saw it on your game camera.
Right. I don't know.
Yep.
And everything Mel talked about there really brought it back to, instead of
the truth. He's telling the truth.
Yeah. Instead of including technology, eliminate technology and actually bring it back to a real hunt.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy that it took something like that to make you realize.
Right. So such a great story, such a great person. And, when I first talked to him, he was a little apprehensive about even talking about it because he felt like the story had been told over and over. But I think Mel had more stories to tell than way beyond just the story of the world record. I mean, I learned and just listening to him more things than I would have imagined he would have told us. And here he is he just opened up and it was fantastic. And I can't thank him enough for doing that for us and for our entire contingent at the Big Buck Registry.
Yeah. Thank you again, Mel. Man, it was an amazing story and amazing things that you talked about. And I hope everybody learned something from this.
Absolutely. I did. I certainly did. So Dusty, how do you follow that act with a Chubby Tines tip of the week? Can you do it?
I am going to do it. And I hope that a young hunter out there takes this to the bank for me. If you've got a grandfather that you enjoy hunting with, he's not always going to be there. There comes a time in life that he's going to go on and hunt other places, and that leaves you with a lot of unanswered questions. And really try to take time and ask questions about hunting with your grandfather, because it's too late once you realize that, there was all these questions that went unanswered. So just take that in thought. And if you got a dad or a hunting buddy or, that's a little bit older, it's time to think about some things and maybe write them down and actually ask them. Because once they're gone, you can't ask them, and that's something that I wish somebody had told me back in the day.
Yep. Great tip, man. And amen to that. So, Dusty, where can we find you when we're not hanging out here on the microphone?
You shoot me an email, dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. You can look me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Chubby Gobbler, facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors. Look me up on Instagram @Chasing Antler. Jay, where can the people reach out to you when you're not on the mic?
Best place is email, jay@bigbuckregistry.com. You can always find the entire Big Buck contingent on Facebook, facebook.com/Big Buck Registry. If you'd like to be famous for a day and send in some of those big bucks that you're shooting right now, send it into bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck, and all the instructions will be right there for you. If you'd like to follow us on iTunes, just hit the subscribe button. And if you like the show enough, please do the search for Big Buck Registry and leave us a review, 5-star if you love the show. And if you'd like to pledge your support, please go to bigbuckregistry.com/pledge or bigbuckregistry.com/donate. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Big Buck Registry and on Twitter at twitter.com/Big Buck Registry. Dusty, I think that's a wrap, man.
That's a whole lot of big buck.
Whole lot of big buck. Big buck, big buck everywhere. Big buck.
Well, hey, thanks for tuning in with us. I'm Dusty Phillips.
And I'm Jay Scott.
And you're listening to another great episode of the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Can't wait.